His music, his generosity will outlive not only us, but our children and their children.
Imagine a concert hall suddenly silenced as a single chord hangs in the air. In that instant, thousands realize something has changed forever. On February 5th, 2024, country music lost one of its fiercest souls. He fought a battle with cancer behind closed doors while giving every ounce of strength on stage. He was a singer and a warrior. Now, months later, the woman who stood beside him has finally spoken. Her words sent chills around the world and transformed his legacy overnight. But before the world heard her heartbreaking words, Toby Keith gave fans one final, unforgettable gift. A last bow that would echo through country music history. One last bow on stage. In mid-December, the bright lights of the Encore Theater in Las Vegas welcomed Toby Keith for what fans would later learn were his final performances. The arena pulsed with energy as he stepped into the glow, white cowboy hat tilted just so perfectly, guitar slung low across his chest. He opened with the familiar opening notes of "Should Have Been a Cowboy," and instantly the crowd rose to its feet, voices blending into the song. Between verses, he laid his hat atop the microphone stand and smiled, eyes glinting with gratitude and something deeper no one could tell. He joked about frigid Las Vegas winds and thanked his band by name. Bobby on guitar, Mike on drums, Lariat on bass, and Mark on sound, naming every person who had helped carry his dream. The audience loved the shout-outs, applauding each time. That evening, he sang the chorus of Red Solo Cup, pausing to let the fans' call and response carry the tune. He tipped his head back and laughed as confetti cannons burst overhead, showering the stage in brilliant colors. Backstage, his family watched him perform. They knew about his private battle but chose joy that night. He never spoke of pain on stage. He let the performance carry him forward. His set list that night spanned 4 decades, opening with early hits like "Should Have Been a Cowboy," sliding into modern singles like "I Like Girls That Drink Beer," and capping with one last high-energy encore of "I Love This Bar." He invited Trisha up. He placed his guitar in its stand, took her hand, and gently kissed her forehead. The hall erupted in cheers, and he raised her hand in triumph, as if sharing that final victory with her. None of them knew then that those would be the last songs he ever sang live. His health had dipped quietly that morning. Scans showed alarm, but he pushed through on will alone. On the way out, fans lined the corridors, chanting his name. He stopped to sign every autograph, never rushing, never complaining, offering every fan a moment of connection. That Las Vegas run closed in a blaze of emotion. From the opening chord to the last bow, he gave everything. He left the stage fulfilled, believing music remained his lifeblood. For the fans, it felt like magic, though they could not yet see that the magic was his farewell gift. In those final shows, he honored a promise he once made when he was a young dreamer on a small Oklahoma stage, to pour every ounce of heart into every note until he had nothing left to give. On December nights in Las Vegas, surrounded by roaring crowds and blazing lights, he proved he kept that promise to the very end. Yet behind the bright lights and roaring crowds, Toby Keith was fighting a far more personal and devastating battle, one he kept hidden from the world until the very end. 2 battles behind closed doors. In November 2021, an ache began to shadow Toby Keith's days. He dismissed it at first as tour exhaustion, long drives, and late-night sound checks. Yet the pain in his stomach refused to fade. Scans revealed a hidden tumor. Only his wife and children learned the truth that night over coffee in their ranch-style kitchen. He reassured them and called it a bump in the road. They gripped his hands and cried. He squeezed back, blinking tears so no one would see his fear. Then he called his medical team, specialists at the Oklahoma City Oncology Center, and mapped out a plan of chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. He vowed to return to the stage, no matter the cost. He posted to social media announcing his diagnosis in June 2022. He wrote that he intended to fight hard and that he hoped to see fans again soon. The post was flooded with prayers from fellow stars Blake Shelton, Lainey Wilson, and brothers Osborne, as well as support from fans across the country. Medical teams rallied, offering the latest treatments and clinical trials. He thanked them all, calling himself lucky for their care. Between treatments, he recorded vocals for Peso in My Pocket in Los Angeles studios, his voice sometimes shaky, but his resolve steel strong. He was interviewed between hospital visits, never shying from questions, but pushing them toward hope. He held a benefit concert in Tulsa, auctioning a Gibson signed by Willie Nelson to raise funds for pediatric cancer families. Every song he sang felt like a challenge, thrown at the cancer he refused to let define him. At home, Trisha managed a schedule jagged by treatment and travel. She packed his bags for flights, held his hand always, and cleaned his wounds after surgery. Their children took shifts by his bedside. Crystal read bedtime stories about cowboys and open skies. Steelen played acoustic guitar softly so he could still hear music in the hospital hallways. He never asked for pity. He spoke of music as his strength. He slept piled high on pillows in the hospital suite, scribbled lyric ideas in notepads, and pressed record on his phone to capture melody fragments at dawn. When tests showed clear margins, he let himself dream of stadium tours. When the scans darkened again, he gritted his teeth and scheduled the next treatment. His fight stretched over 2 years, marked by setbacks and breakthroughs. He faced fatigue that drained him, yet he found solace in brief triumphs, a standing ovation, and a child's smile at OK Kids Corral. He leaned on his family, his faith, and his craft. As he later wrote, "Cancer did not build this man. The music built this man, and music will carry me through." Roots, family, and home. They met at a county fair in Yukon, Oklahoma, and got married on July 14, 1984, at St. John's Episcopal Church in Tulsa. Their ceremony took place under stained glass windows and carried the scent of fresh lilies. Trisha's white gown was elegant, just like her. Toby's blue suit matched the summer sky outside. After a reception at a family ranch in Clinton, they danced beneath string lights to honky-tonk tunes and toasted marshmallows by a crackling bonfire. Their first daughter, Shelley, came along in December of 1985. Shelley had been Trisha's child from a previous relationship. Toby adopted her after they married. Crystal arrived in June 1987, followed by Steelen in October 1997. Their ranch-style home in Norman, Oklahoma, bustled with activities. Mornings began with the scent of sizzling bacon and fresh coffee. In the morning, Trisha laid out plates for everyone at the long farmhouse table. Toby carved initials into an oak post in the yard. Crystal strummed guitar chords to practice for the school talent show, and Steelen chased a remnant of a football across the lawn. Weekends meant family barbecues and backyard concerts. Toby smoked ribs on a drum-style smoker he designed himself. Trisha perfected her potato salad recipe, using a vinegar-based dressing she claimed tasted like home. Friends and neighbors crowded the yard, passing plates and sharing stories beneath the wide Oklahoma sky. Toby grabbed his guitar and asked a guest to sing, and they made music until dusk. Holidays stitched them closer together. Every Christmas Eve, they exchanged gifts under the oak tree he had carved years before. They also packed baskets for families in need, visiting shelters. They taught their children that home meant more than walls. It meant service, compassion, and love. When his health faltered, it was that home that became his sanctuary. The ranch house transformed into a recovery retreat. Soft jazz is played at low volume. Trisha cooked broths and smoothies, reminding him of steak and potatoes when he felt ready to eat. Shelley and Crystal took turns reading from novels, classics about frontier life that reminded him of small-town beginnings. Stalin built puzzles in the hallway, placing pieces slowly so Toby could watch if he felt able. They found joy in the simplest moments. When he later took his last breath on February 5th, 2024, it was in that same living room surrounded by family photos, song lyrics pinned on a corkboard, and echoes of laughter that had filled every corner. A legacy of compassion. In 2013, Toby and Trisha turned concern into action. They saw parents camping in hospital waiting rooms and children battling cancer alone in white beds. They understood that healing demanded more than medicine. It demanded comfort. They purchased land near the Children's Hospital in Oklahoma City and built OK Kids Corral, a welcoming ranch that felt more like home. Walking through the front gate, families found cottages painted sky blue and sunflower yellow. Each cottage held bunk beds, a full kitchen, private bathrooms, and a playroom. Volunteers from the Oklahoma Arts Council painted murals of prairies and ponies on the walls. Donors furnished living rooms with couches and journals, set holiday trees in each dining room, and stocked fridges with snacks. Families stayed there at no cost, a few steps from the treatment wings. That same year, they established the Toby Keith Foundation. Its goal was to lift the burden on families facing pediatric cancer. They organized annual benefit concerts in Tulsa and Nashville, drawing star power Sheryl Crow, John Party, and Luke Bryan to perform free of charge. Guitars autographed by Garth Brooks, Miranda Lambert, and Willie Nelson were auctioned for thousands of dollars. Grants covered travel to specialty hospitals, hotel stays, and medical expenses outside insurance. Trisha led daily operations. She hired social workers, program directors, and event planners. She met families face-to-face, learning their needs, tutoring siblings, and delivering holiday dinners to their doors. She brokered partnerships with airlines, securing free tickets for parents. She arranged for student-athlete volunteers to tutor children behind a curtain of IV poles. She turned guest cottages into safe havens. Toby loved to surprise children with music visits. He slipped into a cottage courtyard in jeans and boots, guitar in hand. He played Beer for My Horses as families gathered. He invited the children to sing along. He snapped photos with caps tipped low. He recorded a video message saying, "Keep fighting. I'll see you on the stage someday." That message became an anthem for persistence. Over a decade, the corral hosted more than 5,000 families. It expanded to Tulsa in 2018 and launched a mobile comfort kit van in 2023, bringing blankets, activity packs, and audio players to rural hospitals. The foundation awarded scholarships to siblings attending college, funded art therapy in inpatient wards, and donated new equipment to local clinics. When Toby's illness worsened, the foundation family rallied. They sent meal deliveries to the Koval home, childcare for Crystal's young girls, and shuttle service for Steelan's visits. Volunteers prayed at the ranch, caring for Trisha as she cared for him. Their shared mission bound them. After his passing, Trisha took the reins with determination. She chaired board meetings, addressed gala audiences in his denim jacket, and met families twice a week. She blossomed as the living guardian of their shared vision. At every fundraising event, she thanked donors with this line, "He would have tipped his hat to you." Today, OK Kids Corral stands as a living tribute, a vibrant hub of hope where walls echo laughter instead of beeps, corridors carry songs instead of whispers, and families find warmth in the chill of illness. Toby's legacy of compassion continues to grow, branch by branch, heart by heart. But even as his legacy flourished, there was still one final, deeply personal goodbye, one that captured the full weight of all he was and all he left behind. Final farewells. On a normal February morning, family and friends gathered in Oklahoma City for a private farewell at St. John's Episcopal Church, the same place Toby and Trisha had wed 40 years before. The polished wooden doors opened at 10 as a procession of black vehicles rolled under tall oak branches. His casket, draped in a plain white cloth, rested on a simple bier. Inside, the pews were filled with close friends: Faith Hill in navy, Tim McGraw in dark jeans and a blazer, bandmates Bobby Terry and Mike Leach, and childhood friends from Clinton. There were white lilies and green eucalyptus at the altar. The preacher, a longtime family friend, spoke softly from the pulpit. He offered words of scripture, of grace, and of gratitude for a life fully lived. He recalled Toby's early days leading Sunday school stories to neighborhood children, his habit of tipping servers 20% above the bill, and his laughter echoing through rural honky-tonks long before he ever saw a chart. He told of Toby's strong faith, his daily devotionals tucked behind the lyric sheet. 3 musicians stepped forward to play acoustic versions of American Soldier, an homage to Toby's support of the troops. A single fiddle joined the guitar, weaving notes of pride and sorrow. Muffled sobs rose and fell like the music itself. The preacher closed with the words, "He fought the good fight. He finished the race. His song lives on." At Rose Hill Cemetery, the hearse halted beneath a tall oak. The grave lay open beside those of his parents, Doris and Hubert. His 3 children each placed a single white rose on the lid. Trisha, wearing the ivory dress he gifted her on their anniversary, laid her rose last. She bent low and whispered a farewell. As the casket lowered, a lone fiddler played Amazing Grace from a distance. No trumpet fanfare, no rifle salutes, just the rustle of wind and the gentle lowering of the earth. The mourners stepped back, forming a silent circle. Trisha closed her eyes, touched the grave marker, and murmured, "Rest now." Then she turned and walked away. That afternoon, the family released a request. In place of flowers, please donate to OK Kids Chorale. Toby believed every child deserved a home of hope during their fight. The news spread quickly. Within days, small-town bars in Texas and Oklahoma held Toby Nights, where proceeds went to the chorale. Churches offered prayer services and baked goods sales. Radio stations aired pledge drives, setting up giving lines in his name. Word arrived that $2 million flowed in during week 1 alone. A public memorial followed in Nashville's CMA Theater. The stage was bare, except for a lone stool, a guitar stand, and a lit lantern. Walls displayed photographs: a young Toby with his guitar, him dancing with Trisha at their wedding, and him strumming for children at the chorale. Attendees carried small notes and trinkets to pin on a memory wall backstage. Inside the packed theater, host Kelsey Ballerini opened with a tribute montage of clips of stadium tours, of Toby standing at attention when the national anthem played, and of him handing a guitar to a young cancer patient. Then came performances: Brooks and Dunn's smooth harmony on "Should Have Been a Cowboy," Lainey Wilson's raw energy on "Red Solo Cup," and Sammy Hagar's rock-tinged "American Ride." Each singer dedicated their set to Toby's memory. In the front row, Trisha sat between Shelley and Crystal. Steelen held his father's signature hat with his calloused hands. Cameras cut to faces in the audience, united by the songs they had sung all their lives. Their voices rose together in choruses, echoing off walls that had hosted legends for decades. The night closed with a candlelight vigil outside, people forming a circle under the neon glow of Broadway. They sang "Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue" in unison. They held photos of Toby at every age and shared stories of meeting him, of dancing at concerts, and of playing his records on repeat during lonely nights. Though he stood among them no longer, his spirit filled every note, every lantern, every flicker of flame. In that moment, thousands felt connected to a man who had spent his life building bridges between music and memory, between hardship and hope. and between hearts across the world. His final farewells were not an end, but the chorus of a song that will never fade. Honoring Echoes. At the CMT Music Awards in April, the tribute opened with silence that fell over the grand ballroom stage. The big screens lit up with a video collage. Toby teaching a child to play guitar, him performing beneath a hurricane of stage lights, and him laughing with Trisha backstage. Host Kane Brown stepped forward to dedicate the night to Toby's memory. Brooks and Dunn strode on stage, launching into Should Have Been a Cowboy, with Ronnie's rich tenor and Kix's crisp rhythm guitar. They ended with a flourish, Ronnie tipping his hat skyward as the crowd roared. Lainey Wilson came next, seated on a single stool under a warm spotlight. She poured every ounce of raw emotion into Red Solo Cup, her voice catching over the chorus. Metallica icon Sammy Hagar took over with a bluesy guitar riff, singing American Ride with a rock edge that married two worlds. He shouted, "For Toby!" and the audience stomped and clapped in unison. CMT's cameras panned to Trisha in the front row, wiping tears with a lace handkerchief, then to Shelley, Crystal, and Steelen, holding each other close. Country icons shared stories on the big screen. Carrie Underwood recalled meeting him at the Grand Ole Opry and being struck by his generosity of spirit. Blake Shelton spoke of Toby as a mentor who took him under his wing early in his career, giving advice on songwriting and urging him to stay true to himself. Dolly Parton recorded a heartfelt video message, calling him an American treasure who never lost sight of home. Fans around the world joined in. In Tahlequah, Oklahoma, a three-piece band at Cherokee Casino played his hits during dinner service. Bartenders in El Paso mixed Toby Keith shots named in his honor, donating proceeds to pediatric cancer care. A group of high school students in Nashville organized a surprise flash mob singing Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue in their auditorium, a video of which went viral online. Meanwhile, radio stations across 50 states dedicated full days to his catalog. They invited callers to share memories, a firefighter who sang his songs on duty, a teacher who used his music to calm restless students, and a soldier who carried a cassette of American soldiers to a distant outpost. Each call showed how deeply his music had woven into daily life. On April 15th, Trisha returned to OK Kids Corral with Shelley and Crystal. They toured each cottage, reading handwritten notes pinned to doors. "Thank you for saving our family. Your dad gave us hope." And "This place is heaven on earth." They walked past the art room where children painted cowboy boots and the game room where volunteers taught card tricks. They toured the new cottage under construction, funded by the recent tribute concerts. They planted a young oak tree in a garden named for him, its first leaves unfurling in early spring. Trisha said she saw Toby's grin in the wind that rustled its branches. Shelley placed a small guitar ornament at its base, and Crystal wrapped a ribbon in his signature color, cowboy boots, around its trunk. On Lower Broadway in Nashville that same night, bars echoed with impromptu sing-alongs. People raised glasses to "I Love This Bar," voices trembling with both sorrow and celebration. Street musicians played guitar under neon signs, strangers joined hands, and someone started a chant of TK, TK, that rolled like a wave down the row of honky-tonks. These actions reminded everyone that his spirit lived on. They were a collective act of remembrance. They stitched together voices across time zones and generations, uniting under the banner of a man who had spent his life giving others a voice. As the streets of Nashville roared with memories, another honor was quietly making its way to Toby. One final recognition that would etch his name into country music history forever. A Hall of Fame finale. On February 6, 2024, word spread across the country music world that Toby Keith had been elected to the Country Music Hall of Fame's Modern Era class of 2024-2024. It arrived via email to voting committee members, listing fellow inductees Reba McEntire, Randy Travis, Mary Chapin Carpenter, and the Oak Ridge Boys. For many, the news was bittersweet. At last, he had earned the highest honor, but would never be there in person. Official word came later that morning in a press release from the Country Music Association. It praised his relentless work ethic, his score of 26 #1 hits, his record-breaking tours, and his commitment to family and philanthropy. It noted his battle with cancer and his decision to keep performing. It concluded by saying he belongs here now and forever. Fans on social media began talking. Hashtags like Toby Keith HOF and Modern Era 2024 trended. People posted images of his gold records, him at the Grand Ole Opry, and him sharing a laugh with a young patient at the Corral. Comments poured in. Deserved every bit. Finally, a legacy cemented. On March 1st, the Hall of Fame announced the induction ceremony for October 20th at the CMA Theater in Nashville. Tickets sold out in days. Fans from all over booked flights, reserved rooms in honky-tonk-lined Broadway, and planned pilgrimages to the museum. They discussed outfit choices, denim jackets, cowboy hats, and bolo ties in online forums. Some ordered commemorative belt buckles engraved with his signature. Others printed replica posters from his early tours. The Hall of Fame committee reached out to Trisha with an invitation to accept the honor on his behalf. They also asked Shelley and Steelan to speak about their father's life. They invited artists influenced by him, such as Eric Church, Miranda Lambert, and Florida Georgia Line, to perform his songs in tribute. They commissioned a CMT video team to produce a special documentary segment. Trisha spent weeks crafting her speech. She aimed to encapsulate 40 years of marriage in under 20 minutes, weaving memories of fairground beginnings with anecdotes from backstage and family life. She organized her narrative around 3 themes: humble origins, shared journey, and lasting impact. Meanwhile, CMT aired a special titled Toby Keith in Memoriam. It featured interviews with close friends, Brooks and Dunn reminiscing about road trips, Carrie Underwood recalling studio sessions, and Sammy Hagar talking about rock country friendships. Home videos appeared, a barefoot Toby teaching crystal guitar chords, Trisha surprising him with a new pickup truck, and the family two-stepping under Christmas lights. As induction night approached, promotional spots flooded country radio and cable networks. One ad showed a lone cowboy hat spinning slowly on a stool, fading to the Hall of Fame facade. Another showed fans in everyday life, farmers in overalls, teachers in classrooms, and soldiers on base, all singing lines from "Should Have Been a Cowboy." Filters on social media let users overlay Toby's signature hat and guitar silhouette on their selfies. October 20th arrived with a brisk autumn breeze. The CMA Theater lobby brimmed with press from Rolling Stone, Billboard, and People. Red carpets rolled out under strings of bistro lights. Cameras snapped as Trisha stepped out in a sapphire blue dress and her late husband's belt buckle. Crystal followed in a pearl-accented blouse, and Steelan tipped Toby's favorite hat as he passed photographers. Inside, the theater was packed. Legends and newcomers alike took their seats: Dolly Parton, Garth Brooks, Luke Combs, and a host of country stars. The stage held only a single stool, a mic stand, and a spotlight. Portraits lined the walls. Toby as a wide-eyed newcomer, Toby in full stadium glory, and Toby at the chorale, holding a young patient's hand. Little Big Town opened with "I Wanna Talk About Me," their harmonies ringing crystal clear. A video tribute followed, tracing his journey from humble honky-tonks to international stages, from hospital beds to philanthropic breakthroughs. Each clip drew cheers and tears in equal measure. When Trisha's name was called, she walked on stage with confidence. She paused at the mic, took a breath, and spoke from the heart. Her words, both tribute and promise, filled every seat. Reporters later said her speech felt like a conversation rather than an address, bridging the distance between an empty front row and the thousands gathered. After she accepted the medallion and held it aloft, the crowd rose in a standing ovation that lasted several minutes. Cameras captured tears on veteran performers' cheeks and smiles on young fans. Outside, fans gathered under a canopy of lights for a candlelight vigil, singing "Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue" in unison. Though he could not be there physically, Toby Keith's spirit permeated the night. His voice echoed in every performance, his legacy shone in every speech, and his heart beat on in each act of kindness inspired by his life. In that Hall of Fame ceremony, a legend was enshrined, and a family's love story found its place in country music history. But as the final notes faded and the spotlight dimmed, one voice remained, ready to break the silence and the hearts of everyone listening. Her voice at last. As she rose to speak, the lights dimmed at the CMA Theater as anticipation settled over the crowd. When her name echoed through the speakers, she rose from her seat and walked to the podium. In her trembling hand, she held a single sheet of paper. She paused before the microphone, meeting the expectant gaze of fellow artists, lifelong fans, and cherished friends. Her voice caught at first, then found its strength. 40 years prior, she had met a young man with a guitar in hand at a county fair. He asked her for a glass of lemonade and a dance, and she said yes. He believed in songs that spoke for the working-class dreamer, the lone soldier far from home, and the small-town kid with big hopes. His music carried truth on every note. When he faced cancer, he never asked for pity. He sang through pain and leaned on his family for faith. He told his children that music would mend broken hearts and that love would conquer fear. He never heard tonight's news, but tonight is for him. She breathed deeply and continued. She spoke of his tireless work ethic and his belief that there may be better singers or better songwriters, but no one would ever outwork him. She spoke of how he poured his fortune into families at OK Kids Chorale, giving hope where it was needed most. She smiled through tears as she concluded, "Toby, I do not know if you can see me now, but I know you would tip your hat and say, 'Well done, sweetheart. I love you and accept this honor for both of us.'" Her final word was, "Thank you." For a long moment, the hall stood in solemn silence. Then applause rose like a wave, carrying her words and his spirit into history. If Toby Keith's journey moved you, please share this video with someone who needs hope today. Check out our next story. Don't forget to like, comment on your favorite Toby Keith song, and subscribe. Hit the bell so you never miss anything. Thank you for watching and for keeping his memory alive. See you soon.